Tonight on News Hour, Arewa Consultative Forum suspends National Executive Committee Chairman over controversial comment on 2027 election. Senate approves 1.767 trillion naira loan request as Atiku slams President Tinubu's loan policies. Tanker drivers open Abuja-Lokoja highway after 8-hour gridlock. And on the international scene, Mali junta appoints a general to replace sacked civilian prime minister. Good evening. Welcome to Trust TV News Hour. I am Sumaya Abubakar. And now the details. The Senate has approved President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's request to borrow about $2.209 billion, an equivalent of 1.767 trillion naira. This comes 48 hours after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu wrote to the leaders of the National Assembly seeking to borrow the sum for part funding of the 9.7 trillion naira deficit. Now, our National Assembly correspondent reports.
Gave the approval following the review of a report presented by the chairman of the Committee on Local and Foreign Debt, Aliyu Wamako, who stated that the loan is expected to cover the 9.1 trillion naira shortfall in the 2024 budget. He added that the requested loan is planned for execution of ongoing projects and programs in the 2024 Appropriation Act, which are critical for growth and development. The Senate, after presentation of the report, expeditiously approved the loan request at the Committee of Supply without any dissenting voice.
The armed forces to establish a super camp at Guzamala local government area and mobilize adequate personnel to serve to secure Abadam and multi-local government areas of Borno State. Those in favor of this prayer, please say aye. Those in favor of this prayer, please say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it.
Meanwhile, the Senate has called for the deployment of adequate security personnel to secure several local government areas in Borno State still affected by terrorist activities and other non-state actors. In a motion by the Chief Whip and Senator representing Borno North Senatorial District, Tahir Munguno, he highlighted the urgent need to deploy security personnel to endangered areas, particularly Abadam and Marte local government areas.
The Senate notes that for many years, Borno State has been bedeviled by insurgency, with communities facing one form of attack or the other every now and then. Aware that recently relative peace has been restored in Borno State due to efforts of the Nigerian armed forces, which are commendable.
In their remarks, other senators recommended engaging special operations similar to strategies employed by the Chadian government to combat banditry, kidnapping, and Boko Haram insurgency.
The Chadian government led the operation by their president. We are not saying that we should do that, but there should be a special operation because this problem is cancerous and is expanding. We are talking about them in Sokoto, Kebbi now. We are talking about them in Niger. They are going to Plateau. They are drawing the second cycle.
We cannot have a nation where some parts of the country are no-go areas. It just doesn't make any sense. My solution is a very simple one, and I've said it and I keep saying it. We need to have a national dialogue.
If you can secure the lives and properties of our people, that is the best thing we can do for them. Rather than coming and talking every day, we should lead by example. I also discussed with him. You should see the Chadian leader that led his people to the front. It's because he understands that terrain.
The lawmakers warned that despite the armed forces' significant progress in the fight against insurgency, failure to address the issue could reverse some of the gains achieved so far.
The 2023 presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, has described the loans taken by President Bola Tinubu as burdensome for Nigerians, warning that they will place unbearable strain on the economy. The former vice president, in a statement on Thursday, said the loans are bone-crushing for Nigerians and are bringing insufferable pressure on the economy, especially when they are not properly negotiated or utilized. On Thursday, the Senate approved President Tinubu's request to secure a $2.209 billion external loan. The approval followed the presentation of the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debt report delivered by its chairman, Aliyu Wamako, during the plenary session. In response to this and other previous approvals, Atiku expressed concern that Nigeria is sinking deeper into debt, with the National Assembly once again acting as an accomplice. Now, in this regard, Trust TV's Abdullahi Ahmed did an explainer to deep dive and give more insight into the debt of the country. Take a look.
In the shadow of rising inflation, economic hardship, and deep public discontent, Nigeria's borrowing frenzy continues unabated. In a dramatic move this week, the Senate approved President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's $2.2 billion loan request to partially plug the 9.7 trillion naira budget deficit for the year 2024. This latest approval follows a pattern of aggressive borrowing. In just 16 months, the Tinubu administration has secured $6.45 billion from the World Bank alone, pushing Nigeria's total external debt with the institution to $15.45 billion. From June 2023 to June 2024, Nigeria has taken loans for projects ranging from economic stabilization reforms at $1.5 billion to renewable energy at $750 million and adolescent girls' education at $700 million. Each initiative is painted as a vital step towards national development, but the reality on the ground tells a different story. Rising debt service costs are strangling the Nigerian economy. Nigeria spent $2.19 billion servicing foreign debts in the first 5 months of 2024, a 96% surge from the same period in 2023. Meanwhile, sectors like healthcare, education, and infrastructure are crying out for funding, leaving citizens to wonder, where is all this borrowed money going to? For many Nigerians, daily life has become a test of endurance. Fuel subsidies have been removed, pushing petrol prices to unprecedented levels. Inflation has wiped out household savings, while unemployment remains alarmingly high. And now, the government wants more loans, claiming it's the only way to stabilize an already faltering economy. In approving the $2.2 billion loan, Deputy President of the Nigerian Senate, Jibril Barrow, commended the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debt for its, quote, thorough examination of the proposal. But for millions of Nigerians, this feels more like political theater than governance. Nigeria's debt profile has grown exponentially. The 9.7 trillion naira budget deficit for 2024 is just the latest chapter in a story of fiscal mismanagement. The loans, while essential to finance critical projects, seem to offer little respite for ordinary Nigerians facing deteriorating living conditions. As debt servicing eats up more of the national budget and borrowing becomes the default solution, one must ask, what is the end game? Can the government truly transform this debt into sustainable growth, or is it merely delaying an inevitable reckoning? With $2.2 billion more added to the pile, the stakes couldn't be any higher. Will Nigeria's leaders steer the country away from fiscal disaster, or are they gambling the nation's future on borrowed time?
Now, that was explained by our very own Abdullahi Ahmed. Now, moving on from that, a free flow of traffic has resumed after protesting tanker and trailer drivers opened the ever-busy Abuja-Lokoja highway in the Abaji area council of the FCT. The tanker and trailer drivers had blocked the 2 lanes of the Abuja-Lokoja highway, protesting the alleged assault on one of their members, identified as Abdullahi Babayau, by some military escorts in Abaji. Reports say the road was later opened by the tanker drivers at about 4:43 p.m. after 1.6 million naira was paid by the chairman of the council, Abubakar Omar Abdullahi, for the 4 tanker tires allegedly shot and deflated by the military escorts. It was, however, gathered that the arrival of a lieutenant colonel in charge of 176 Battalion Gwagwalada Brigade Command, who also involved in the negotiation, led to the opening of the highway by the tanker drivers. Despite the infrastructural deficit in the Nigerian basic education subsector, about 34 states have shunned over 263 billion naira Universal Basic Education Commission's matching grant for 2024. In this explainer, Trust TV's Ibrahim Ismail examines the implication of neglecting UBEC's matching grant on the educational pursuit of Nigeria children. Take a look.
In the heart of a nation grappling with an education crisis, over 18.3 million Nigerian children remain out of school. Their laughter echoes in playgrounds, but for many, the sound of lessons in classrooms is a distant dream. From the bustling streets of Lagos to the rural communities of Bauchi, the story is the same: overcrowded classrooms, crumbling facilities, and a lack of teachers. Yet, amidst these struggles lies a confounding truth. Over 263 billion naira meant to fix these problems remains untouched. Kano alone has 1.89 million out-of-school children, while Lagos battles with 703,756 kids out of school. These numbers tell a grim story, yet billions allocated through the Universal Basic Education Commission's matching grants sit idle in government coffers. Why? State must provide equal funds to match the UBEC grant, 3.5 billion naira annually, but many lack the political will to prioritize education. It's a glaring neglect of duty. While some states like Katsina and Kaduna access their 2024 grants in full, others have left billions unclaimed. Ogun has 4.26 billion naira untouched. Abia, 4.28 billion naira untouched. The list goes on. In July, the Universal Basic Education Commission revealed that Nigeria needs over 1.1 million classrooms and 194,876 teachers to meet the demand for basic education. Yet, governors have chosen bureaucracy over classrooms, leaving children without a chance for a better future. This isn't just a problem of funds, it's a crisis of priorities. A nation that turns its back on education turns its back on its future. Should we continue to let billions waste away while children are left to fend for themselves? It's time for citizens to demand accountability. Education is not just a right, it's the foundation of progress.
The Board of Trustees and National Executive Council of the Arewa Consultative Forum, the ACF, has suspended its chairman, Manman Mike Osuman, with immediate effect. According to the forum in a statement on Thursday, the suspension follows statements attributed to the now suspended chairman was quoted as saying that the North will back a Northern candidate for the presidency come 2027. It's clarified that the statements were made by the NEC chairman without consulting or discussing with other leaders and members of the ACF, and thus reflected Mr. Osuman's personal opinion only. The forum said a committee has been constituted for further investigations.
That we have every 3-4 months, about quarterly, and to review activities since the last meeting, which we did, and of course, at every meeting we appraise, we look over the affairs of the country within the context Arewa and how it has fared in the last quarter or so. And we issued a statement saying, well, some of the fundamental issues have remained: insecurity, economic challenges, out of school, education, and so on. And we went ahead and offered our view on how the government should go about it. We called also on individuals that this the situation of education, the situation of skill acquisition and challenges of livelihoods are not just for the government, it's for every concerned elite, whether in government, whether in private sector, religious and community leaders. Everyone should put their heads together and let's see what we can do.
A former Minister of Petroleum, Dezani Alison Maduke, has sought to amend her suit before Justice Inyang Eko of the Federal High Court Abuja, challenging the order obtained by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, for final forfeiture of her seized assets. At the resumed hearing, no counsel appeared for the EFCC. Justice Eko asked her counsel if he had received processes from the anti-graft agency, and he responded in the affirmative. The lawyer, however, informed the court that they had filed a motion to amend their processes, adding that the commission had been duly served. Justice Eko subsequently adjourned the matter until February 17, 2025, for hearing the motion to amend their originating process. The ex-minister had sought an order extending the time to seek leave to apply to the court for an order to set aside the EFCC's public notice issued to conduct a public sale of her property. She said she was not given a fair hearing in all the proceedings leading to the orders on the sale of her property. A Finnish court has sent Nigerian separatist agitator Simon Ekpa to prison for spreading terrorist propaganda on social media. A district court of Pajat Jaime remanded him after the Finnish National Bureau of Investigation, the NBI, arrested him alongside 4 other men over alleged terrorist offenses. The self-declared Prime Minister of the Biafra Republic government in exile was said to have committed the crime in 2021 in Lahti municipality. Also, according to a local report, the Central Criminal Police in Finland confirmed the arrest in a statement on its website on Thursday. The police said the main suspect was arrested on suspicion of public incitement to commit a crime with terrorist intent, while 4 other persons are suspected of financing the aforementioned activity. There have been calls for the arrest of the separatist following his alleged involvement in the seat-at-home that has relatively crippled economic activities in the southeast. The military high command on Thursday hailed the arrest of the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, the IPOB, Simon Ekpa, by the Finnish police over suspicion of terror-related activities. It also called for Ekpa's quick extradition to Nigeria in order to face justice over what it was described as his sins, adding that his arrest showed that the international community was in support of its fight against terrorism. The Finnish Nigeria separatist leader was arrested in Finland alongside 4 others for incitement of violence and terrorism financing. Reacting to his arrest, the Nigerian military, through its director, Defense Media Operations, Edward Buba, said they were happy that the international community was partnering them in the fight against terrorism. Buba said the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, had also and always wanted him to be arrested for fueling terrorism activities in the southeast of the country. In the same vein, the Director of Defense Information, Brigadier General Tukur Gusau, said the next step would be to extradite him back to the country. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has called on the military across Africa to unite in addressing insecurity and other threats to the continent's unity and stability. He gave the charge on Wednesday when he officially declared open the 2nd edition of the Africa Military Games, AMGA, in Abuja, heralding the event as a historic platform to foster unity, camaraderie, and military cooperation across the continent. The Games, with the theme Enhancing Military Cooperation in Africa Through Sports, marks a revival of the tradition initiated over 20 years ago in Nairobi, Kenya. Speaking during the opening ceremony of the Games at the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, President Tinubu, who was represented at the event by his deputy, Vice President Kashim Shettima, observed that no single nation can tackle its security challenges alone. Meanwhile, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has urged to intensify efforts towards reducing the suffering, hardship and security challenges facing the country. The call was made at the 9th Muslim Ummah of Southwest Nigeria, Muswen, General Assembly, which took place at the Central Mosque of the University of Ibadan. In his remark at the event, Oyo State Governor, who was represented by his deputy, Bayo Lawal, charged the federal government to spend the gains made from subsidy removal on security, infrastructure development, electrification, and other projects that are capable of generating employment. The Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Saad Abubakar III, while addressing the assembly, pointed out that if people practice their religion accordingly to the dictates of such religions, most of the challenges facing the nation will not arise in the first place.
Poverty is not only the problem we have in Nigeria. Issue of insecurity is even there, and it's staring us in the face. And we have to really confront insecurity headlong so that all of us will live in peace. Southwest Muslim community, typified by Muslim, has a lot to do in terms of fostering unity.
We are in the religion. We are Muslims. We are Christians. We are. I won't say Babalao. Anybody else, but that religion is not in our hearts. Because if you are a good Muslim, you will not go and kidnap somebody. You will not go and kill somebody. You will not go and bomb somebody. You will not go and take innocent person's life when you know what Islam said about taking an individual's life.
Why are we becoming a more corrupt, more terrible, more hardened, more wicked society, when at the same time we are becoming more religious and we are doing so many things for the faith?
On the proposed tax reform bill, I urge Mr. President to listen to the outcries from various groups and sections of the country. The current economic situation in the country requires serious caution to handle. The government should show more human feelings and put measures in place to mitigate the general suffering brought on the citizenry by some of the economic policies.
This is News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. If you're just joining us, this is News Update on Trust TV. Let's take a look at our top stories again. We brought you Arewa Consultative Forum suspends National Executive Committee Chairman over controversial comment on 2027 election. And Senate approves 1.767 trillion naira loan request as Atiku slams President Tinubu's loan policies. Moving on to more stories, the House of Representatives on Thursday approved President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's request to borrow about 1.77 trillion naira as outlined in the 2024 Appropriation Act. The loan, which aims to finance the 2024 budget deficit, will be raised through Eurobonds and other sources. The report.
The approval followed the presentation of a report by Chairman of the House Committee on AIDS, Loans and Debt Management, Abubakar Nalaraba. The motion was passed under the presiding authority of Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu.
That the House do consider the report of Committee on AIDS, Loans and Debt Management on request for approval for the implementation of the new external borrowings of 1,767,610,321,777 naira 0 kobo.
Of the Committee on AIDS, Loans and Debt Management and request for approval for the implementation of the new external borrowing of 1,767,610 321,779, equivalent of 2.209 billion US dollars in the 2024 Appropriation Act through the issuance of Eurobonds and other sources, and approve recommendation 1 to 5.
In a separate session, the House also passed for second reading a bill to amend the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory FCT Abuja Act. The bill seeks to increase the number of judges in FCT High Courts to enhance judicial efficiency. The proposed legislation was sponsored by Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu, along with Reps Babajimi Benson, Akin Rotimi, and 5 other lawmakers. In another development, the House of Representatives has rejected a proposed bill seeking to introduce a 6-year single term for Nigeria's president. The bill, sponsored by Ikenga Ugochinyere from Imo State and the 3 other lawmakers, was dismissed during the Thursday's plenary session after failing to pass its second reading. The proposed legislation also included a 6-year term for governors, rotation of executive powers among the 6 geopolitical zones, and other constitutional amendments aimed at promoting equal representation and reducing agitation for state creation. Currently, the 1999 Constitution provides for a 4-year presidential term with the possibility of re-election for a second term. The bill also sought to amend Section 3 of the Constitution to recognize Nigeria's division into 6 geopolitical zones, create the offices of 2 vice presidents, 1 each from the north and south, and consolidate all elections, including presidential, governorship, and legislative, on the same day. However, the House unanimously rejected the bill after Speaker Tajuddin Abbas called for a voice vote, with the nays overwhelmingly outweighing the ayes.
I rise to move that a bill for an act to alter the provision of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended to provide for a single term of 6 years for the office of President and state governors, provide for the rotation of offices of President and state governors and chairmen of local government council among the inherent regions and zones, and to provide that all elections be held on a single day to be read for a second time. I so move.
Those against, you say nay. The nays have it.
I rise for a bill for an act to amend the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Number of Judges Act, Cap. H6, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to provide for increase in the number of judges in the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja.
The House of Representatives has called on the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Development and the Ministry of Women Affairs to establish support systems for women who have undergone egg donation. These resolutions follow the motion by Representative Kwamoti Lauri, who also urged the Ministry of Health and Social Development alongside the Ministry of Information and National Orientation to intensify public awareness campaigns on the risk and ethical concerns surrounding egg donation. These initiatives are intended to educate potential donors and prevent exploitation.
Concerned that the demand for human eggs has led to exploitative practices such as illegal egg harvesting and commercialization, often targeting vulnerable women, particularly poor teenagers, unaware of the risks involved.
Additionally, the House has directed its Committee on Anti-Corruption to investigate the activities of Anti-Corruption Transparency Unit, ACTU, across all ministries, departments and agencies, MDAs. The motion, moved by Representative Umaru Shehu Ajilo, mandates the committee to report its findings within 4 weeks for further legislative action.
Aware that the unit is supposed to be watchdog or anti-corruption division service with the responsibilities of monitoring the activities of federal government, ministries, departments, and agencies, and reporting any matter that is regarded as corrupt practice to the ICPC for further actions.
Meanwhile, the House resolved to investigate and address age falsification within Nigeria's civil service. Following a motion by Representative Yusuf Ahmed Wado, the Committees on Public Service Matters, Special Duties, Federal Character, and National Planning and Economic Development were tasked with summoning the head of service of the Federation.
In the last quarter of 2024, the National Bureau of
statistic NVS reports indicate that the unemployment rate has raised by 5.3%, making Nigeria one of the countries which was the most unemployed populace in the African countries.
The head of service is to provide comprehensive records of civil service across MDAs to identify and address instances of age falsification.
The House of Representatives has directed the Central Bank of Nigeria, the CBN, and the Federal Ministry of Finance to immediately refund the 50% deduction made from the Nigerian Shippers Council, the NSC account. The resolution followed a motion of urgent public importance raised by Representative Ahmed Mohammed, who noted that the Federal Ministry of Finance has deducted about 50% of the Council's account balance in December 2023 under the 2021 Finance Act. The report.
The Ministry of Finance's decision to impose a 50% deduction from revenue-generating agencies typically aims to address pressing fiscal challenges, such as reducing budget deficits and managing public budget. The chairman of the committee noted that while deductions from other agencies had been refunded, the Nigerian Shippers Council had yet to receive its reimbursement. Mohammed expressed concern that the non-release and delay in refunding the funds have caused significant operational challenges for the council, including difficulties in paying staff salaries and retirees' entitlements. This situation, he noted, has led to undue hardship for both employees and retirees.
Aware that the Federal Ministry of Finance deducted 50% of Council's account balance in December 2023 under the provisions of the 2021 Finance Act, while similar deductions from other agencies have been refunded, the Nigeria Shippers Council has not received its refund.
In a related development, the House also urged the Federal Ministry of Power to declare electricity distribution companies, DISCOs, as non-state actors and take immediate steps to address their alleged reckless actions, which pose a threat to the nation's economy. The lawmakers further recommended the recapitalization of DISCOs, requiring a minimum of 500 billion naira in financial capacity. They said only operators with the financial strength to provide satisfactory services to consumers should be allowed to continue operations. Moving the motion, Rep. Ibrahim Isiaka decried the unfair practices of DISCOs, particularly their demand for additional payments from consumers to replace electricity meters that had already been paid for during installation. He described these demands as dubious, eroding consumer trust and exacerbating financial burdens on households and businesses.
Also notes that Nigerian consumers paid for electricity meters and installations, but these schools now demanding additional payments for replacement of the same meters under dubious pretenses, undermining consumer trust.
Also, the House of Representatives has passed for second reading a bill for an act to ensure adequate funding for mineral resources exploration and extraction through public-private partnership. Sponsor of the bill, Lanre Okwonla, representing Surulere 2 Federal Constituency of Lagos, while leading the debate during plenary, explained that the aim of the bill is to ensure that the mining industry reaches its full potential. Okwonla said the partnership will reduce the nation's dependence on oil, boost the economy and create job opportunity.
Mr. Speaker, the objective of this bill is to bring the private sector expertise and for effective and efficient mineral resource industry. Clearly, this is outlined in the bill. While the extraction of Nigerian abundant mineral resource through partnership between the public and private sector, this approach will reduce our dependency on oil.
Members, while contributing to the debate, noted that if the bill is passed, it will boost the value of the nation's economy, as the untapped mineral resources in the country are more than 80%.
It has been a practice all over the world that private companies or private partnership works, particularly in tapping the untapped mineral resources all over the world. In other words, the private sector may have the skills, the know-how, and everything to tap the mineral resources, but may not have the financial resources to do that. And at the end of the period, by the time you have a PPP arrangement, you realize that each and every resources all over the country will be tapped to the highest order or to the maximum level.
Mr. Speaker, this bill in Zimbabwe, there is an arrangement like this. We can as well do better because we have abundant mineral resources lying fallow untapped.
Following further debate, the Speaker of the House, after calling for a voice vote which went to the House majority, referred the bill to the Committee on Solid Minerals Development for further legislative input. Meanwhile, a bill for an act to alter the constitution to provide voting rights for Nigerians in diaspora and related matters has also passed for second reading. The bill was sponsored by the House Speaker, Abbas Tajuddin, and a member of the House, Sadiq Ango Abdullahi.
The House of Representatives Committee on Livestock Development has expressed disappointment over the lack of attention given to the livestock sector by previous administration despite its significant potential and economic contributions. Speaking at the committee's inaugural meeting at the National Assembly complex in Abuja, the chairman, Wale Raji, noted that the establishment of the committee followed the creation of the Federal Ministry of Livestock Development by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Raji highlighted Nigeria's struggle to meet its livestock consumption needs, resulting in its substantial foreign exchange expenditure on imports for products that could be locally produced. He described the sector as a key opportunity for transformation, emphasizing its potential to enhance food security, drive economic diversification, and create wealth.
It is unfortunate that the livestock sector has not received the due attention by successive administrations, despite its huge potential and contribution to our economy. The annual production in the livestock sector is estimated at 563 million chickens, 58 million cattle, 124 million goats, 16 million sheep, and 16 million pigs.
The House of Representatives Committee on Polytechnic and other higher tertiary and technical education has threatened to sanction 5 federal polytechnics over their refusal to honor its invitation to render their budget performances. Chairman of the committee, Fuad Kayode Laguda, gave the warning while speaking after the failed planned meeting of the committee at the National Assembly. He said despite inviting the management of the Federal Polytechnic Nekede, Imo State, Federal Polytechnic Ohodo, Enugu State, Federal Polytechnic Oko, Anambra State, Federal Polytechnic Akanu Ibiam, Ebonyi State, and the Federal Polytechnic Isuochi, Abia State, they all failed to honor the invitation for the meeting slated for Wednesday, November 20th, 2024. The committee had last week met with some federal polytechnic which it cannot visit due to security reasons. The authorities of Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, has reinstated Professor Joseph I. Ikeche-Bellu as the acting Vice-Chancellor of the institution with immediate effect. This was disclosed in a press statement signed by the Director of Information and Public Relations Protocol Officer of the University, Njelita Lewis, on Thursday. Lewis explained that the decision followed the nullification of Professor Bernard Odo's appointment as the seventh substantive Vice-Chancellor while he was deemed illegal. He added that Professor Ikeche-Bellu has been directed to assume full administrative responsibilities for the university immediately. Additionally, Mr. Victor Modebelu has been appointed acting registrar following the nullification of Mrs. Rosemary Ifeoma Nwokike's appointment as the substantive registrar. Away from that, Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State has awarded scholarship to no fewer than 92 students of Phoenix University Agwada in Kokona local government area of the state as the institution set to matriculate 260 pioneer students. The Vice-Chancellor of the University, Abdullahi Bala, disclosed this during the maiden press briefing of the institution in Kokona local government area of the state on Thursday. Trust TV reports that Phoenix University, Agwada, relocated alongside its management and entire staff from the university's liaison office in Kefi to the Agwada campus on 23rd of March 2024. The university was allocated an admission quota of 500 for the 2024/2025 academic cycle, and out of a total of 342 candidates that applied for admission, about 260 met all requisite criteria for admission and were admitted accordingly.
Today, I'm highly delighted to once again meet with you in order to update you and the world on recent developments at Phoenix University, Abuja, and our plans for the investiture of Alhaji Dr. Muhammad Indimi, OFR, as the Chancellor of this great and promising university, as well as the matriculation of our pioneer students. Since our last interaction in December 2023, the university has gone through a number of milestones, some of which are worthy of mention here. 1. Stakeholder engagement. As a fledgling university, it was necessary for management of the university to engage stakeholders and opinion leaders, particularly those in Nasarawa State, to formally introduce the university and what it stands for, and to seek the support, cooperation, and collaboration of stakeholders in our efforts to get the university properly positioned for the task ahead.
76 minors who were arrested during the August 1st hunger protest have been reunited with their families in Kano State. The children, some of whom had spent over 3 months in detention, received medical care at Muhammadu Buhari Hospital in Kano for 2 weeks before reunited with their loved ones. Trust TV's Abdulaziz Ibrahim attended the ceremony and filed in this report.
It was a day of jubilation at Muhammadu Buhari Hospital in Kano as the 76 minors arrested during the August 1 hunger protest who have been receiving medical care here finally got to meet their families again. At the ceremony, the Kano State Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf was represented by his Chief of Staff Shehu Sagagi. The governor urged parents and philanthropists to collaborate in securing a better future for the next generation. He also encouraged the boys to serve as positive ambassadors for Kano as they move forward.
As a state government, and indeed the federal government, we have to wake up to make sure that our citizens are well educated so that they can be gainfully employed. Because throughout the county, we have never seen a devastating protest like what happened in Kano, and solely is due to lack of education of our citizens. So we have to do something, and you as a parent, you have to help us, help the government to make sure we teach your children so that they can stand on their feet.
Fatima Yusuf had made a passionate plea weeks ago. Today, she is overjoyed to have her 2 sons back home. We cried back then, but today we are happy as both of my sons are back home. This is one of them, but his brother had some issues with his eyes, but now he's fine and we are all happy. But not all families share in this happiness. Aged Aisha is still waiting for her ward, who went missing during the protest and was not among the released children. I have not seen my 23-year-old son Abubakar Ali since the day of the protest. He is not among the children released. I am appealing to anybody who can help me. As the children begin reintegration into society, the role of parents in such incidents is now a topic of concern. To this end, civil society groups in Kano are raising awareness about the challenges families face in situations like this.
If the children are engaged, we believe that this thing that just happened, you understand, it will not happen. And the parents also, we are calling on them to take their responsibility seriously. It is their responsibility to make sure those children are safe.
If John is speaking to Abuja, it's not John that came back. If Mohammed is speaking to Abuja, it's not Mohammed that came back because he has mixed with criminal. They need to know what are the characters changing for those children.
With more support needed, the expected focus now turns to ensuring these children's futures are secured. Abdulaziz Ibrahim, Trust TV News.
Let's now join Yusuf Akogu for Business News Update.
The Director General, Securities and Exchange Commission, Emomotimi Agama, on Wednesday disclosed that banks have so far raised about 1.682 trillion naira through e-offering in the ongoing recapitalization exercise. Agama made this disclosure on the sidelines of the recently held Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers Conference in Ibadan, Oyo State. He explained that the launch of its e-offering platform was instrumental to the success of the bank's recapitalization exercise. He noted that the amount was raised in 12 applications by 9 banks. 19 deposit money banks are now offering an 8.18% interest rate to customers for their savings, aligning with the Central Bank of Nigeria's recent monetary policy adjustment. Commercial banks are mandated to provide a minimum interest rate of 30% of the MPR on customers' deposits. In September 2024, the CBN raised the benchmark interest rates by 50 basis points to 27.25% to combat rising inflation. Accordingly, 30% of this new MPR translates to the 8.18% interest rate. The banks adhering to this rate include Access Bank, Citibank, Ecobank, Fidelity Bank, First Bank of Nigeria, Keystone Banks, among others. NGS closed in the negative territory on Thursday due to profit taking. Topping the losers today is Wapik. Wapik down 9.82% to close at 1 naira and 1 kobo per share. The UPL Nigeria PLC also lost 9.09% to close at 3 naira and 50 kobo per share there as well. Sovereign Insurance ended on the negative side of the market, 8.96%. It lost to close at 61 kobo per share. Of course, this has dragged down the index downward by 0.17%. Volume of trade 456.82 million shares there. Value at 9.22 billion naira in a days of 10,495 did exchange hands among investors today. Looking at the top trading equities by volume, First Bank of Nigeria holding lead the table of 51.11 million shares. It traded Tantalizer PLC 48.78 million shares, and of course WAPCO at 39.67 million shares. It traded as well. Some equities ended on the gaining side of the market. Leading the table is Austin Lars. Austin Lars gained 10% to close at 2 naira and 42 kobo per share. Unicel also gained 9.98% to close at 17 naira and 52 kobo per share. Of course, HSM Call also up there as well, 9.95% to close at 4 naira and 64 kobo per share there. And that's the highlight of stock trading as it went down on the floor of NGS on Thursday. Let's see the global stock market and exchange rate data for today. As Russia and Ukraine launch missiles at each other, overshadowing the impact of the bigger than expected increase in U.S. crude inventories. At the London market, Brent crude sells for $74 a barrel. For the paper basket, price moves up to $72 a barrel. And that's business. I am Yusuf Akogu.
for Climate Justice, highlighting the deepening climate crisis on the continent and the immediate need for action for the global or from the global community. They made the call at the ongoing 29th UN Climate Change Conference, that's COP29, holding in Baku, Azerbaijan. Trust TV's Chiamaka in Nendu brings us more.
As the second week of the United Nations COP29 progresses, calls have intensified that Africa's suffering from climate change is not a matter of charity, but a fundamental issue of justice.
We are facing a lot of problems, which I think is very visible to all. We have had issues of flood in Nigeria, for example, which was very devastating, and erosion, which is also another area that we are very much afflicted with. And we are also facing a very big issue in the area of forest.
The minister's statement was not just a plea. It was a clarion call for global climate finance reforms, where he urged world leaders to honor their past pledges of financial support.
We must turn this COP into something that is going to benefit all of us. The finance, because this is the first COP that essentially talking about finance. So let's see that the finance thing is done.
Other African representatives echoed the Nigerian minister's call for action, while also pointing to the challenges that prevent African nations from accessing the resources needed to address the climate crisis.
The floods, the droughts affect the lives of our people. Our people are paying for this climate crisis already with their lives and their livelihoods.
Our position as African countries is to say that the 100 billion modes of implementation has not given us the result that we desire. We have to change ways of doing it. That's what we call the business as usual is not working. So we need to change to business usual. That will give us the result that we desire towards the Paris Agreement 1.5 temporary reduction targets.
What we need to do now is to concentrate on how are we going to achieve those goals, recognizing the African potential, that humanity also has its motherland in Africa.
This message from African leaders at COP29 is clear. Climate change is not just an environmental issue. It is a matter of survival and justice. From Nigeria to Sierra Leone, Gambia to Angola, these leaders are calling for urgent, equitable and actionable climate finance to address the continent's growing crisis. As the summit continues, the world will be watching to see if these calls for justice will finally be answered. Chiamaka Nendu, Trust Television News.
On the international scene, the Mali junta on Thursday appointed military officer Major General Abdoulaye Maiga as the new prime minister a day after sacking civilian Premier Choguel Kokala Maiga following his criticism of the military leadership. Abdoulaye Maiga previously served as the government spokesman. The West African nation, beset by terrorist and separatist violence, has been under military rule since successive coups in 2020 and 2021. Although Abdoulaye Maiga was not part of the initial group of colonels who overthrew the civilian president in August 2020, he quickly aligned himself with them and has since been promoted to general. His appointment to replace the civilian prime minister appears to reinforce the military's grip on power. On Saturday, Choguel Kokala Maiga publicly criticized the lack of transparency regarding the transition to civil rule. And now let's join Adeni Ajishafe for Sports News Update.
The 2024 Osun Intercollegiate Games roared to life on Wednesday, marking a significant milestone in the history of sport among tertiary institutions in Osun State. The vibrant opening ceremony at the Obafemi Awolowo University Sport Complex set the tone for 2 weeks of electrifying competition and youthfulness. The opening ceremony graced by dignitaries emphasizing the significance of the competition in fostering unity and development. The games commenced with athletic displays, football matches, and a dramatic tug-of-war, captivating the audience in football. King's University Ode Omo battled Osun State College of Ed Technology, SLK. King's University defense struggled to hold back relentless SLK attack attack, culminating in a commanding 4-1 victory for the College of Health Technology. The second football match had Obafemi Awolowo University securing a 2-0 victory over Oduduwa University, while Oduduwa University found redemption in the tug-of-war competition, defeating OAU 2-0 in a nail-biting contest to advance to the next round. Athletics took center stage as various teams competed fiercely in the 100-meter, 200-meter, 400-meter, and 4x100-meter relay heats, with both male and female athletes leaving the spectators in awe of their speed and determination to win. And in football, the Nigerian Premier Football League (NPFL) has announced the postponement of Kano Pillars match day 14 home clash against Eyimba International of Aba. The match, initially slated for 4 December 2024, has been postponed to an unconfirmed date due to Eyimba's engagement in the CAF Confederation Cup group stage fixtures. NPFL assured both clubs that a new date and time for the iconic encounter, popularly referred to as the Zobia Classico, will be communicated in due course. In the related development, the Kano Pillars match day 13 away fixture against Lubi Stars has been brought forward to Saturday, 22 November 2024. The match will now take place at the Lafayette City Stadium, a change necessitated by adjustment to the league calendar. That's Sport News. I'm Adeni Ajisabe.
And with that, we've come to the end of News Hour on Trust TV. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. Thanks for watching. Good evening.